Hello students, today we'll continue with our chapter that is force and laws of motion. Today's topic is momentum. So first of all, what is momentum? According to the definition, momentum is the quantity of motion in a body and it depends on its mass and velocity. It means more the motion of a body, more will be the value of momentum, and it is defined as the product of its mass and velocity. As we all know that mass of a body is a constant quantity, so if the velocity of a body increases, its momentum will also increase. Moreover, more the velocity of a body, more will be the momentum. But if the velocity of a body is zero, its momentum will also be zero. Momentum is directly proportional to mass. Directly proportional means if one quantity increase, other quantity will automatically increase. It means if mass of a body increases, if A body has mass more than the body B, then the momentum of body A will be more than the momentum of body B. We can explain it by taking the example of cricket ball and tennis ball. The mass is larger in case of cricket ball, so its momentum will be more. Momentum is directly proportional to velocity. If two cricket balls moving with different velocity, the ball which is moving with higher velocity will be having higher momentum as compared to the other one which is moving with the slower velocity. And the most important thing that should be kept in mind is that if a body is at rest, its momentum will be zero because its velocity will be zero, and any value if multiplied by 0 will become 0. But every moving body must possess momentum. It can be a smaller value, it can be a higher value, and momentum is a vector quantity. Vector quantity means it is having magnitude and it is having direction also. So you can find the SI unit of momentum, that will be kg meter per second. Here comes the Newton's second law of motion. The statement is the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. Means the change in momentum in a body is directly proportional to the force applied. More the force applied will be, more will be the change in momentum with time. Equation can be written as force is directly proportional to change in momentum upon time taken. As we know that force is denoted by F and momentum is denoted by P and time taken is denoted by T. As we have studied earlier, momentum is the product of mass and velocity. So if we need to find the change in momentum, then it will be equal to final momentum minus initial momentum, and final momentum will be the product of mass and final velocity. And we know that final velocity is denoted by V. Similarly, the initial momentum of a body will be the product of mass and initial velocity of a body. Initial velocity of a body is denoted by U. So, the change in momentum will be written as mv minus mu upon t. Here we'll take m as common, that it will become mv minus u upon t. We have studied in chapter motion that acceleration is the rate of change of velocity, and it is given by final velocity minus initial velocity upon time taken. So here we'll replace v minus u upon t with a. So the equation will become F is directly proportional to m into a. To remove the sign of proportionality, we'll use a constant, that is k. Now the equation of second law of motion becomes F is equal to kma, and if we'll take the value of k is equal to 1, then F will become ma. This is the equation of Newton's second law of motion, and we'll use this equation in various numericals. Again, Newton's second law of motion means more the force applied, more will be the change in momentum of a moving body. So here we'll discuss few applications of Newton's second law of motion. You all have watched the cricket matches. You must have observed that a cricket player moves his hands backwards on catching a fast moving cricket ball. He has done this in order to reduce the rate of change of momentum, because as the rate of change of momentum of a body decreases, consequently the force that will be applied on the hands of a fielder will automatically decreases, and the hands of the player don't get hurt. Another application of Newton's second law of motion is also concerned with a game, that is sports, that is high jump. In case of high jump, you must have seen an athlete is provided either a cushion or a heap of sand on the ground to fall upon. This is done to increase the time for the momentum to change, because as we know that lesser the rate of change of momentum, lesser will be the force applied on the body of the athlete, and the athlete does not get hurt. Another example that you have seen must be the packing material such as thermocols. They are used for packing glasswares or electronic devices. They are mainly used to cover mobiles if you have ever ordered it online, because these types of materials increases the time in which momentum comes to zero in case any jerking takes place. Same happens, it decreases the rate of change of momentum and hence the force, so the articles don't get broken. In case if they are not covered with such packing material, and if they'll fall on the ground, the articles may get broken. Another topic is Newton's third law of motion, and it is very famous law. It states that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So, what does this statement means? It means there is always a pair of forces acting on two interacting objects, and that forces are always equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. And when we talk about the action and reaction, we are talking about the forces, and the forces always occur in pairs. Moreover, action and reaction act on different bodies but simultaneously. Although action and reaction forces are always equal in magnitude, but they do not produce equal acceleration in the two bodies on which they act, because it can depend upon the mass of the body on which force is getting exerted. Here we are having an example of Newton's third law of motion. We are having two spring balances. If one spring balance will exert a force of magnitude 58, another will act with the same magnitude of force, but the direction of forces applied will be opposite, as you are able to see in the given figure. In another example, if you hit your wall of fence with a ball, the ball will come back with the same amount or same magnitude of force, but the direction of force that are applied on the ball will be opposite or reverse, but the magnitude of the forces will always be the same. Another most important application of Newton's third law of motion is the recoil of a gun. There are various numericals that are based on this concept. In case of the recoiling of a gun, the force on bullet is considered as action, and the force on the gun is considered as a reaction. And these two forces are always equal in magnitude, means the force applied on the bullet is equal to force applied on the gun, but the direction of these two forces are always opposite to each other. This process helps in the recoiling of the gun. Our last topic from this chapter is law of conservation of momentum, and we have just read that what is momentum. It is the quantity of motion contained in a body, and in physics the term conservation means unchanged or same. So the statement of law of conservation of momentum is: when two or more bodies act upon one another, their total momentum remains constant provided no external forces are acting on them. In other words, we can say that total momentum of the bodies before collision is always equal to the total momentum of the bodies after collision. So let's see how to derive the law of conservation of momentum. Here we are taking a situation. Suppose a big and a small car move in the same direction with different velocities as shown in the above figure. Let the mass of the bigger car be m1 and it is moving with the velocity u1, and the mass of the smaller car will be m2 and it is moving with the velocity of u2, such that u2 is lesser than u1, means the smaller car is moving slowly as compared to the larger car. Now in this situation, what will happen? After few seconds or few minutes, two cars will strike with each other because the velocity of the larger car is more than that of the smaller car. Now suppose that both the cars collide for a short time t, and we all know that if they'll strike with each other or if they'll collide with each other, their velocities will change. Before collision or before striking, velocities were u1 and u2, but after collision they'll become v1 and v2 respectively. Now suppose that during collision the bigger car exerts a force F1 on the smaller car, and in turn the smaller car exerts a force F2 on the bigger one. So when the force F1 acts on the smaller car, its velocity changes from u2 to v2, means when the larger car hits the smaller car, it changes its velocity. So according to the Newton's second law of motion, equation will become F1 is equal to m2 a2. F1 is equal to m2, and we know that acceleration is given by the value final velocity minus initial velocity divided by t. Similarly, when the force F2 acts on the bigger car, its velocity also changes from u1 to v1. Similarly, we'll apply Newton's second law of motion, then equation will become F2 is equal to m1 and a1. m1 is the mass of the bigger car and a1 is the acceleration of the bigger car, and we know that acceleration is given by the value that is final velocity minus initial velocity. Here we are having the acceleration of the larger car, that is car 1. So a1 will be given by the value of v1 minus u1 upon t. Now what was the statement of Newton's third law of motion? It states that if two bodies strike with each other, they apply equal magnitude of forces on each other. It means F1 should be equal to F2. But another thing, the direction of the applied forces is opposite. So we'll write F1 is equal to minus F2. Here minus signifies the direction. Now we'll substitute the value of F1 and F2 from the above equation. It will become m2 into v2 minus u2 upon t is equal to minus m1 into v1 minus u1 upon t. If we'll cancel t on both sides, the equation will become m2 v2 minus u2 is equal to m1 bracket begins v1 minus u1 bracket close. Now we'll simplify the equation and it will become m1 u1 plus m2 u2. m1 u1 is the momentum of the larger car before collision plus m2 u2. m2 u2 is the momentum of the smaller car before collision is always equal to m1 v1, that is momentum of the larger car after collision, plus m2 v2, that is the momentum of the smaller car before after collision. So from this equation we can conclude that total momentum of the bodies before collision is always equal to the total momentum of the bodies after collision. This is all about the today's lecture.